Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day, where we'll be reciting the 25th Pauri of Jup Bani, and it follows as under. Bahta karm likhya na jaye, vadda data til na tamaye. Kete mange jod apar, ketiya ganat nahi vichar. Kete khap tutte vekar, केते लैले मुखर पाए, केते मूर्ख खाही खाए, केते दुख भूख सद मार, एह बे दात तेरी दातार, बंद खलासी पाने होए, होर आख न सके कोए, जे कोई खायक आखण पाए, ओ जाने जेतियां मुँह खाए, आपे जाने आपे दे, आखे सेबे कई के, जिसनो बख्शे सिफ्त सलाह, Nanak Patsah hi Patsah. Now, the conventional translation and interpretation of this stanza runs along somewhat the following lines: that grace abounds and is beyond accounting. Bahta karam likhya na jaye. And it is given without a trace of expectation. Vadda data til na tamaye. And then this is followed by a recounting in the next lines, centering around Kete and Ketya, to assert the view that there are many warriors, hedonists, deniers, fools, and those stricken with ill fortune who beg for grace. And then it goes on, this line of thought, that the Creator is the source of everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ketya tuk puk sadmar, ehbe daat teri datar. Band khalasi pane hoye, bondage and release are under the purview of Hukam, and the Creator knows itself and its intent. The inculcation of divine virtues or qualities makes a person king-like. Jisno bakshe sift salah Nanak Patsah hi Patsah. So this conventional line of thinking around this Pauri appears to echo some of what we saw in the previous stanzas, where the Guru is trying to show that the good, the bad, the ugly is all a part of the evolutionary impulse that is at work, and that even unmitigated evil serves a purpose, all working towards striving and making for a higher consciousness. And friction, combat, competition, as we see in history and around us, serves this purpose. It evokes a response that moves us towards a better world. And the journey of life, according to Gurmat in this view, is to transcend the selfish considerations of ego consciousness and attain the insight of there is no other. There is an interesting perspective which is somewhat different from this, and it strikes us as being closer to the context of the Pauri's preceding, as well as more in line with the theme of Jup Bani. Now, in this view, it becomes a little essential to hold one's attention on the concluding lines of the previous stanza, starting with Granth Sahib Ucha Thao and ending with Nanak Nadri Karmi Daat. Now, it's very significant here because when we discussed the previous Pauri, we concluded our discussion by saying that the Guru has advised us that no amount of physical exertion or materialistic search, if you will, meaning external through the senses kind of search is really going to work. And the only way to take a measure of the Creator was to become Creator-like. In other words, not really like the Creator, but mirror the Creator in the depths of one's being, the Hirda. And that the thread that connected the human with the Creator was Nam, which is intuitive self-knowledge that resides in us. So this line of interpretation, or this other perspective, wishes to extend that thought and saying Nanak Nadri Karmi Dat, meaning that that gift of Nam is a gift, and it comes from the Nadri, the Hukmi, the one who owns the Hukm, the Creator, and therefore it is a gift, Karam, and a gift from that Karmi as well, the compassionate one. So connect that to the first line of this current Pauri as Bahta Karam Likhya Na Jaye, then becomes a carryover from the previous line and should be read as follows. The gift of grace, or rather the gift of Nam, that is given, is imperishable. Likhya in this context implies that which is given or communicated, and not, as the conventional translations have indicated, not that which can be written or cannot be written. So here it is referring to Likhya as a mode of communication, or what has been given. So if you read the Pauri in this manner, then the remainder of the passage becomes a description of that state of mind, of the self-realized consciousness, the pinnacle of existence, a Satyara or a Gurmukh. And so therefore, the passage suggests that a realized state is free of any kind of, has abjured rather, all worldly greed, tilinatamai, that this big gift that has been given has transformed this consciousness where there isn't even a spot of blemish left, and that it has become warrior-like in its ability to fight vices, jod apar, and basically pushes back or overcomes vikar, the sins, if you will, that we are so enmeshed in. In other words, the mind, warrior-like, is able to destroy old patterns of behavior by denying evil tendencies and falls into a new rhythm, kete le as in a rhythm, and le mukharpai, by denying the old conditioned patterns of thinkings that we are all caught up in. So in an unenlightened state, these tendencies had consumed the mind. The mind was then a murakh and was kahi, and caused itself, itya dukh puk sadmar, was in that state. So the mind's self-realization is none other than the grace, the gift of the Creator. And that's what is meant by Band Khalasi Pane Hoye. And it ends by saying, what else can be said? So there is a bit of a difference here. If you look at it from this perspective, it's talking about an enlightened state, whereas the previous, more conventional discussion of this Pauri tends to focus on infinity and endlessness. And we would, of course, leave you, the listener, to decide what seems to appeal to you. But we do want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. And we do see that humans, when blessed with the grace of self-knowledge or Nam, become prototypes of the Creator, perfect instruments of Hukam. To know Nam, or the name of something, means to be privy to the knowledge of that thing. So to have Nam of the Creator implies that it has insight into the virtues of the Creator that have to be inculcated. If you remember, we talked about inculcating the inner environment. So such a state is the most exalted. Indeed, Gurbani reminds us from time to time that we are meant to be vice regents, sikdars of the Creator on earth. So the second takeaway is that as Sikhs of Guru Nanak, we owe it to ourselves to translate the meanings of this eternal wisdom in the light of our own understanding. This is language that is couched in metaphor and has a lot of medieval Indian languages that we are not familiar with. However, that is not an excuse not to engage with it. So we have to develop this warrior-like consciousness and deal with the demons that afflict us today. They are still around. There are modern demons and dragons that are still on the prowl, and we need to be able to identify them and bring them to their knees. We leave you with these thoughts until the next time. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.